There's a case to be made that Grass is the worst typing in all of Pokemon. Offensively, Grass moves are not very effective to 7 types, and defensively, Grass is weak to 5 types, both of these being the equal highest. With these weaknesses in mind, I wanted to take on Pokemon Shield in a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Grass-type Pokemon. Here's how I went. A detailed list of rules will be in the description, but in summary, if a Pokemon faints, it can't be used for the remainder of the challenge. I only get 1 Grass-type encounter for each area, I can't use any items from the bag in battle, I can't overlevel my team, and if all of my Pokemon faint, the challenge is over. I've also got some specific rules for the wild area, but I'll cover that a little later. When choosing a starter Pokemon, naturally I pick Grookey. Not only because it's a Grass type, but also because it's the coolest of the 3 starters, and I won't be told otherwise. After completing the painfully long introduction and tutorials, I'm finally let loose. On Route 2, I find my first eligible Grass type encounter, Lotad. Its unique Grass and Water typing will be really valuable, particularly as it provides me with an offensive option against Fire types. After a short leveling session, it was time to take on my rival, Hop. However, this battle is quite easy due to my level advantage. I then head to Wedgehurst City and purchase some truly stylish new clothes. Hop and I then take the train, but have to depart at the wild area. If you haven't played Sword or Shield, the wild area is a huge space at the centre of the region. It's split into 17 parts, and a ton of Pokemon can be found here. While I could get a new encounter in each of the 17 areas, I've decided to impose an additional rule for this area, whereby I can get 1 initial encounter, and then 1 more encounter for each gym badge that I obtain. I think that this strikes a good balance between preventing me from stacking my team early on, but also giving me access to the diverse range of Pokemon that can only be found here. As it was snowing in one portion of the wild area, I was able to find and catch a Snover. It's pretty slow, however, its secondary ice typing makes it a good addition to the team. I then leave the wild area and reach Motorstoke. Leon gives me a Miracle Seed, which boosts the power of Grass moves. After a short opening ceremony, my quest to obtain the 8 badges can finally begin. But before I can depart the city, Hop wants a rematch, and his levels are now much more aligned with mine. I lead with Snover to set up Hail and do some damage to Wooloo. A switch into Grookey lets me finish it off the next turn. Rookidee is next, and it's a huge threat to my team. I switch into Snover, who barely survives a second peck, to land a Powder Snow. Unfortunately, I'm too low to survive another peck, so I pivot into Lotad, who puts Rookidee in red HP range, but it won't survive another hit. So I switch into Grookey as Hop heals. I'm pretty certain that Grookey was about to faint, however, Hop used Leer twice, which gave me just enough time to finish Rookidee off with Scratch. Hop's last Pokemon is Sobble. As Grookey's defense has been lowered, I switch into Lotad and then back into Grookey. With my stats reset, I'm now clear to finish Sobble in 2 turns with Razor Leaf. That was really tough for an early game rival fight. I'll definitely need to be more cautious of Hop's Rookidee going forward. I can now proceed through Route 3 where I'm able to catch a Glossifleur. The train is here in no pushovers, particularly this Pancham, who gave me a lot of trouble. It hits hard, and Circle Throw forces me to switch. I'm eventually able to take it down with some switching, but wow, this early game is more difficult than I thought. After the battle, Lotad evolved into Lombre, which is neat. I'll need to wait until I can get a hold of the Water Stone though, before it can evolve into its final evolution. A few battles later, I came across this trainer, who uses a Dottler, which knows Struggle Bug, a move which my whole team is weak to. Unfortunately, I didn't have a safe switch in, and Glossifleur was sacrificed. Rest easy, Lip Gloss, we hardly knew thee. Lombre then finishes Dottler, and after the battle, Grookey evolves into Thwackey. He got bigger, less cute, and found another stick. Good for him. I then quickly proceed through the Galar Mine and reach Route 4. There are 2 possible grass encounters here, Budew and Ferroseed. After some searching, my first valid encounter was a Budew, which I was fortunately able to catch. I've now made it to Turfield, where I'm able to pick up an Expert Belt. While preparing for the gym, I was able to max out Badoo's friendship stat, which allowed it to evolve into Roselia. It's taken some time, but I'm finally ready for the first gym challenge. The leader, Milo, uses Grass-type Pokemon, just like me. Although unfortunately for him, my team has much better coverage. I lead with Snover and take his Glossifleur down with 2 Ice Shards without taking much damage. Milo's last Pokemon is Eldergloss, and we both Dynamax. Eldergloss hits hard, but Snover can survive 2 hits and land 2 max Hailstorms to finish it off and secure my very first badge. As a reward from Milo, I'm given the Magical Leaf TM and teach it to most of my team. On Route 5, I'm able to catch an Applin. It has the really cool typing of Grass and Dragon. Hop wants a rematch with his improved team. Once again, his Corvisquire gives me a lot of trouble. Fortunately, it decided to spare me again, and Snova can land a second Ice Shard to finish it off. Full disclosure, I am terrified of this bird. Hop's other Pokemon aren't much trouble though, and I finish him off rather easily. What on earth? A short time later, I'd made it to Hulbury. It took me a while to reach the first gym, but now the pace of the game really picks up as we've already made it to the second gym. The leader, Nessa, uses water Pokemon though. Does anybody want to guess how this went? Anyone at all? If you answered sheer carnage, you'd be absolutely correct. I led with Roselia and gave it the Miracle Seed. I then one-shot every single one of Nessa's Pokemon. Too easy, that's badge number 2. I then went back to the wild area in search of a Water Stone. This is incredibly risky, as the Pokemon in this portion of the wild area are much stronger than me, so I need to be careful to avoid every encounter. Luckily, I grabbed the Water Stone unscathed and used it to evolve my Lombre into a Ludicolo. Back to Motorstoke. The third gym is here, but before that, I need to take on Marnie, a fellow gym challenger. Fortunately, her Krogunk lead insists on trying to use Sucker Punch. This lets me use Growth to increase my special attack by 5 stages without taking any damage. From here, my stats are insane, and it's a clean sweep of her team. Using the move reminder, I can give Ludicolo a huge moveset upgrade with Energy Ball, Bubble Beam, Zen Headbutt, and Hydro Pump. I'll definitely need this boost as the next gym leader uses fire types. In stark contrast to the last gym, this one scares me a lot. Carboot leads with Ninetales, and I go with Ludicolo, who is really my only Pokemon capable of damaging his team. Ninetales burns me, however, I land 2 Bubble Beams and take it down. Arcanine is next. I decide to Dynamax on this turn and use Max Gazer. Arcanine goes down, but importantly, this sets up Rain, which will boost the power of my water moves and restore some HP due to Ludicolo's ability. Carboo's final Pokemon is Sizzlipede. It's a fire and bug type, meaning it's got coverage against my whole team. Fortunately, Ludicolo outspeeds and takes it down with a single Rain boosted Max Geyser. In the end, it was a sweep. However, if Ludicolo fell during that battle, there's a good chance that I wipe right there. All things considered, I'll take a clean victory. Back to the wild area. With 3 new badges, I've now got access to 3 encounters. First is Ferroseed. It's a guaranteed encounter for me as it's the only Pokemon that can appear in this area, however it's only got a 5% chance to appear. After over 30 minutes of searching, I eventually found one and quickly caught it. Its secondary steel typing and general bulk makes it a really nice addition to the team. Next is Pumpkaboo, who I'm able to catch after burning through over 20 Pokeballs. My final wild area encounter for now is a Cottonee. This grass and fairy Pokemon gets access to some great support moves and may come in handy later on. My next stop is Hammerlock. This boy wants to borrow my Applin so that he can use it to confess his love. I don't know who gave him the advice to show his affection via fruit, but man, he gets the job done. Good for you. He gives me Applin back, as well as the item that allows me to evolve it. I use it right away, and Applin evolves into Appletun. It's a somewhat bulky Pokemon, so I give it the moves Leech Seed and Protect. Onwards to Route 6. I'm able to catch a Maractus here, and a short time later I reach Stow-on-Side where Hop is waiting for a rematch. His team has changed up significantly since our last match. I lead with Ferroseed against Cramorant. Hop, the absolute madman, goes for Fury Attack. It barely does any damage, and every time he touches me, he takes damage from Iron Barbs. This lets me finish it off a few turns later. Silicobra is next. I survive a dig and deal some respectable damage, however will need to switch. I go into Appleton, who gets paralysed, but fortunately sets up Leech Seed and can stall with Protect, as Silicobra's health is sapped away. Toxel is next, but it can't do too much against my team. Roserade is able to clean it up quickly, and then finishes Drizzile with a single Giga Drain, giving me the win. While preparing for the next gym, I leveled my team near the cap, and Thwacky reached level 36, evolving into Rillaboom. The next gym leader, Alistar, uses Ghost-type Pokemon, however, I'm particularly concerned about his Dynamax Gengar. His lead is a Yunmask, which has a secondary ground typing, so I go with Ludicolo and am able to take it down with a single energy ball. Mimikyu can be dangerous if you let it set up. Its ability lets it eat my first attack, however Ludicolo is bulky enough to eat 2 of Mimikyu's attacks before taking it down with Bubble Beam. Next is Cursula. My Ludicolo's health is low, however Cursula has minimal offense, so I'm confident that I can outlast it. A Hydro Pump takes it to just below half health, and Cursula then uses Curse, which depletes the remainder of its health. With Ludicolo afflicted by Curse, and on low HP, I have to switch. I decide that my best move was to go into Ferroseed, and this really paid off. Gengar Dynamaxed and went for Max Ooze, against which my Ferroseed is immune. This lets me stall out a Dynamax turn for free. Wanting to stall out the rest of Alistar's Dynamax, I max Ferroseed and use Max Guard on turn 2. From here, I tank a hit from Gengar and hit it for big damage as its Dynamax ends. I then switched into Snova as my special defense had been lowered one stage. Though sadly, Snova was put to sleep, but still set up Hail thanks to its ability. I then switched back into Ferroseed to reset the stat drops and barely survived a Hex from Gengar. I then pivoted into Appletun, who lived through a Hex, and the Hail damage finally finished Gengar off. It's a close battle and gives me a 4th badge. The level cap barely increases for the next gym, so I decide to deposit both Ludicolo and Rillaboom as I don't want to risk overleveling them. I then head into the nearby Glimwood Tangle, and it's here that I'm able to catch a Shiinotic. A short time later, I made it to Bolonlia. This mysterious town located in a magical forest is the location of the next gym. There are also some really useful items for me to grab here, including the Choice Scarf and Eviolite. I gave the Eviolite to Ferroseed as this will give it a huge defensive boost until it evolves. It was now time for the next gym. The leader, Opal, uses Fairy type Pokemon. I've got decent coverage across Ferroseed and Roselia though, so I feel reasonably prepared. I lead with Ferroseed against Weezing, who can't really do much at all against a bulky Steel type. I abuse this by using Iron Defense 3 times to max my defense while taking very little damage. The leader also asks questions throughout the battle, and if answered correctly, you receive various stat boosts. This helps boost my Pharaoh's bulk even further. I'm then able to take Weezing down with a 3rd Iron Head. Next is Mawile, but since it's a physical attacker, I'm practically untouchable. I get multiple flinches with Iron Head, but they're not even needed, and I easily take Mawile down. Togekiss is next, and I decide to Dynamax and use Max Steel Spike. This removes Togekiss in 2 shots. Opal's last Pokemon is Alcremie, who Dynamaxes into a Wedding Cake. It's a decent support Pokemon, but doesn't really have the offense to handle my bulky Ferroseed. I easily tank its attacks, and finish it off with a few Iron Heads. With that, Opal is defeated, and I now have 5 badges. The routes to the east of Hammerlock have now opened up, and Hop is waiting for a rematch with another experimental team. His Trevenant isn't too much trouble, as Snova can remove it with several Ice Shards. However, Heatmore is next, which is much more dangerous given its Fire typing. I switch into Ludicolo, which fortunately isn't weak to fire and has enough bulk to withstand 2 Fire Lashes. This buys me enough time to take Heatmore down with a 2nd Bubble Beam. Snorlax is walled somewhat by Ferroseed, so I switch and begin using Iron Defense. Snorlax can barely touch me and is taking more damage from my Iron Barb's ability than it can dish out. Snorlax gets 2 crits and I'm paralysed multiple times, but eventually I outlast it. Hop's last 2 Pokemon are easily handled by Roselia's Giga Drain, giving me the win. After the battle, Ferroseed evolves into Ferrothorn, which gives it some nice extra bulk. It can now also learn Body Press, which I teach right away. Body Press is a fighting type move that increases with power according to the user's defense stat. Why is this so good? Well, Ferro has great defense to begin with, however I can use Iron Defense to rapidly increase my defense as well as my offense with Body Press, making it an incredible combination. I also taught Rillaboom U-turn, as well as moved the Eviolite to Snova. There aren't any obtainable Pokemon on the next few routes, however on Route 8 I'm able to find a Shiny Stone and use this to evolve Roselia into Roserade. I also found the Brick Break TM and taught this to Rillaboom to give me an extra offensive option against the upcoming gyms. While leveling, Frieza reached its final form, meaning that I now have a fully evolved team for the first time in this challenge. After hopelessly navigating the pitfalls of the gym challenge, it was now time to take on the leader. Melanie uses Ice-type Pokemon, which gives her a type advantage. The biggest threat, however, is Darmanitan. It has a monster attack, speed, and coverage with both Ice and Fire moves, making it very deadly. Melanie leads with Frostmoth, so I go with Ferrothorn. Fortunately, Frostmoth doesn't have much offense, and this lets me set up an Iron defense for free. On the next turn, I can take it down with Body Press. Next is the dreaded Darmanitan. I've given Ferrothorn the Occa Berry, which will reduce the damage from one super effective Fire type move. I'm hoping that this is enough to survive a Fire Fang, but Darmanitan used Taunt for whatever strange reason. This lets me take it down with a single Body Press. Ice-Q's ability lets it survive a hit, but I can take it down on the next turn. Melanie's last Pokemon is Lapras, which she Dynamaxes. I decide not to Dynamax initially, as this would turn Ferro's Body Press into Max Knuckle. I'm able to survive a hit from Lapras, however it sets up Aurora Veil and my Body Press doesn't do too much damage. I then switch into Abomasnow due to its Solid type matchup. I Dynamax on the following turn and use Max Overgrowth to bring Lapras to low health. I'm faster, however Lapras hits me with an Icy Wind which lowers my speed. I don't want to risk being outsped and KO'd, so I switch into Rillaboom. Lapras uses Ice Beam, which is awful for me, but Rillaboom just hangs on. From here, I outspeed and finish Lapras with a Drum Beating. That gives me badge number 6. After the battle, Hop wants to get beaten again, and this time around it does not go well for him. My Ferrothorn walls his Corviknight, allowing me to get +4 defense. The rest of his team can't do much at all, and I easily sweep him with Body Press. While passing through Route 9, I'm able to catch a Delmise. We then have a battle with Marnie. Rillaboom easily removes Liepard with Brick Break. Against Toxicroak, I switch into Ludicolo as his Zen Headbutt is 4 times effective. I get confused on the switch, and Toxicroak puts me in low HP range. This was incredibly risky, as if I'd hit myself in confusion, I would have certainly lost Ludicolo. Fortunately, I landed the Zen Headbutt, which took Toxicroak down. I then switch into Rillaboom, who handles Marnie's last 2 Pokemon with Brick Break. A short time later, I made it to Spikemuth. It's a small area without much to do besides take on the gym, which is run by Team Yell. The leader, Piers, uses Dark-type Pokemon. The gimmick of this gym is that we can't Dynamax, which is perfectly fine by me. I lead with Shiinotic against Scrafty. I take a chunk of damage, but take it down with a single Dazzling Gleam. Next is Malamar. I barely survive a Psycho Cut and put it to sleep with Spore. I then switch into Ferro and use Iron Defense 3 times to max my defense stat. From here, it's an easy Body Press sweep against the remainder of Piers' team, 7 badges down. The final gym is located back in Hammerlock City, meaning we can take it on quite soon. I needed to prepare though. I grabbed the Sunstone and evolved Cottonee into Whimsicott. I also gave it the Focus Sash and taught it some status moves to make use of its Prankster ability, which increases the priority of status moves. I found the leftovers and gave these to Ferrothorn. Finally, I taught Ludicolo Ice Beam and gave it the choice specs that I found in Spikemuth. With that, I was ready for the final gym. This gym is my favourite as it's a double battle and the leader's team is built with weather control in mind. Raihan leads with a Gigalith and Flygon. Furthermore, Gigalith's ability sets up a Sandstorm. I lead with Ludicolo and Whimsicott. My plan is to Dynamax Ludicolo and use Max Geyser to override the weather with rain. With Whimsicott, my goal is to use Charm on Flygon to nullify its offensive pressure, allowing me to focus on the other slot. I was able to remove Gigalith, however it took 2 turns of Dynamax. Next was Sandaconda. It fell to a single Max Geyser, however its ability reinstated the weather to Sandstorm. As my Dynamax had ran out, I no longer had any weather control. Flygon's attack had been significantly lowered, so it wasn't too much of a threat. I decided to focus on Duraludon. I used Ice Beam with Ludicolo and Fake Tears with Whimsicott, both targeting Duraludon. This combos nicely as its low special defense is lowered further by Fake Tears, and as such, Ludicolo hits for big damage. Unfortunately, Duraludon used Max Steel Spike onto Whimsicott, knocking it out. I sent in Rillaboom next and used Brick Break on Duraludon, however fell just short of taking it down. A single Ice Beam from Ludicolo was enough to finish Flygon. Another Brick Break on the next turn was all that I needed to take Duraludon out. It was a shame to lose Whimsicott there, but its contributions in that battle were really valuable. With my 8th and final gym badge secured, I then headed to Wyndon for the final leg of the challenge. While preparing for the endgame, I went back to the wild area for my final catch of the run, Rotom. I changed it to the Mow form, giving it a unique electric and grass typing. The next 2 battles are to qualify for a place in the Champion Tournament. My first challenge is Marnie, who uses Dark-type Pokemon. This one was an absolute slaughter. I led with Ferrothorn and used Iron Defense. I was then able to sweep most of her team with Body Press. Marnie's final Pokemon, Grimmsnarl, can barely touch me, even without Dynamaxing, and I'm able to take it down with a second Gyro Ball. It's an easy sweep. Next is Hop. We've had some really close battles throughout the run, however, this really isn't one of them. His team is very physical, and he has no coverage to deal with Ferrothorn. As such, I lead Ferro and use his Double to max my defense. I get paralyzed, but proceed to sweep Hop's Double, Snorlax, Corviknight, Pincurchin, and Inteleon with Body Press. Too easy. I'm now qualified for the finals, but here's the thing. I forgot that there were some extra battles against the real evil team, Macrocosmos. If you have no idea who that is, don't worry, neither do I. They've just kind of been thrown in right at the end. Anyway, these extra battles are a problem, as my team are already at the level cap. To avoid overleveling, I box most of my team and replace them with those in my PC. Basically, this is my B team, but they'll have to do for these battles. The Grunts primarily use Steel-type Pokemon, so I mainly rely on Appleton's Leech Seed and Protect combo to stall them out. The final boss of this portion is Oleana, the Vice President of Macrocosmos. Her lead is Frostlass, so I go with the Dhelmise and take it down with a heavy slam. Next is Salazzle, who poses a huge threat to my team given its fire and poison typing. I can't afford to switch, so go for a Muddy Water. It lands, however, isn't enough to finish Salazzle, and my Dhelmise falls on the next turn. Next I send Ludicolo out. I get poisoned, however, a Scald is enough to take Salazzle down. Serena is next. It's a pure grass type, so I decide to Dynamax Ludicolo and use Max Hailstorm, finishing it off in one hit. My Lotic is up next, but a single Max Overgrowth handles it. Oleana's last Pokemon is Gardevoir. It's particularly threatening due to its poison typing and the fact that Oleana Dynamaxes it. I need to preserve Ludicolo, so switch into Appleton, who tanks a critical hit. My plan is to stall out the Dynamax, so I use Protect. It won't completely protect me, but reduces the damage substantially. Appleton hangs on, but barely. I can't afford to switch, and unfortunately have to sacrifice Appleton. With that, Dynamax ends and I send in a Bomber Snow. I land a Blizzard, which does good damage, however on the next turn, Gardevoir hits a Gunk Shot and knocks me out instantly. Sorry Freezer. I then send out Maractus, who dodges 2 Gunk Shots and takes Gardevoir down with a second Petal Blizzard. That was dicey, and I lost some great Pokemon, but we've made it through. The next day, I'm able to begin the Champion Tournament. In this game, there isn't really an Elite Four, but rather, I rematch against some of the gym leaders. The winner of the tournament then earns the right to take on Leon for the crown of champion. My first match is against Bede? Let's go with that. This isn't my first battle with Bede, I just haven't really covered out other encounters as they were relatively trouble-free. And this battle is no exception to that rule. I lead Ferrothorn against Bede's Mawile. I'm able to set up 2 Iron defenses without taking too much damage, and can then Body Press to remove Mawile. Next is Gardevoir. It sets up Wish, but I can take it down with a second Gyro Ball. Next up is Rapidash. I could probably take it out, however, I want to stall with Iron Defense until Gardevoir's Wish fails, as I don't want Hatterene to get a free recovery. Anyway, after some time, I'm able to remove Rapidash with a few Body Presses. I had planned to use Ferrothorn against Hatterene, hence why I gave it the Occa Berry. However, I'm just too weak at this point, so I decided to switch into Ludicolo. Ludicolo's typing and Assault Vest allows it to tank a Max Flare. I Dynamax on the next turn and use Max Giza to override the Sun. Bede stalls out my Dynamax by healing, however, one final Rain Boosted Scald is enough to secure a clean victory. The next battle is a rematch against Nessa. Her team is much more formidable this time, as she has a Goleospod and Pelipper, which have some threatening secondary typings. I lead Ferrothorn against Goleospod, which does big damage with a first impression. I then start to accrue iron defenses until I'm at +6. Body Press isn't enough to kill, and Goleospod's ability forces it to switch. From here, Nessa just doesn't have the offensive pressure to overcome Ferrothorn, and I'm able to sweep the remainder of her team using Body Press without much trouble at all. The next battle is against Alistar, the Ghost type user. I can't rely on Ferrothorn this time, as Body Press won't hit his Pokemon. Instead, I lead with Rillaboom, who is holding the Choice Band. I've given it the move Darkest Lariat, which is a Dark type physical attack with a base power of 85. This absolutely ripped Alistar apart. I'm able to outspeed and one-hit kill every single member of his team. Way too easy. The final match in the bracket is against Raihan. His team is quite strange, as it's built around 3 different weather varieties. I decide to lead with Ludicolo and Dynamax on the first turn. A Max Geyser is enough to remove Torkoal, but importantly, this overrides the Sun. Turtonator falls to another Max Geyser the very next turn. Goodra is threatening as it has Thunder, which is fully accurate in the rain. As such, I use Max Hailstorm, which overrides the rain with Hail, and fortunately, Thunder misses. My Dynamax expires, however, I'm able to finish Goodra off with an Ice Beam on the next turn. Flygon is next, and it sets up Sand, but its 4 times weakness to Ice lets me take it down in 1 turn. Raihan then Dynamaxes his ace, Duraludon. As it's a physical attacker, I switch into Ferrothorn and stall out his Dynamax with Iron Defense. From here, a single Body Press at +4 defense is enough to finish the job. I then stand before the champion, Leon, ready for one final battle. Or so I thought. We're interrupted by Rose, who has decided that now is the best time to initiate Armageddon. This game. I don't want to get into the details, but of course, it's up to me to defeat Rose in a battle. His team is Steel types and primarily physical attackers. For those playing along at home, care to guess the strategy here? If you guessed Total Body Press Annihilation, you would be correct. This was terribly easy. But wait, there's more. Rose has unleashed the legendary Eternatus upon the Galar region, and it's my job to clean up his mess. This battle really isn't too hard, as I've got my Mushroom Fairy to nullify its dragon attacks. I had one moment where I lived on 2 HP, however I had a Focus Sash, so this wasn't too material. After defeating Eternatus, I'm forced to catch it, but won't be using that disgusting non-grass Pokemon. Anyway, the day is saved, and then everyone clapped. I could now finally begin my battle with Leon. Honestly, Leon is a great final boss for this challenge, as he has both a Cinderace and a Charizard, which are huge threats to my team. One way or another, this would be my final battle. My goal is to set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes with Roserade, and I've given it a Focus Sash to ensure that it survives 2 turns. Fortunately, Aegislash protects on both turns, which lets me set up my Toxic Spikes for free. I then switch into Ferrothorn and use a new move, Stealth Rock. I've specifically included this to target the dangerous fire types on Leon's team. With my entry hazard set, I then pivot into Rillaboom. I take some damage, however, can remove Aegislash with a Darkest Lariat. Cinderace is next, and honestly, I don't have a safe switch. Sadly, it outspeeds me, and my beloved Rillaboom, who has been with me since the very beginning, falls. I then go back into Roserade. I'm able to survive a turn thanks to my Focus Sash, and land a Sludge Bomb. It doesn't kill, however, the residual toxic damage is enough to finish Cinderace. I don't have a safe switch against Dragapult though, so I once again need to sacrifice a valuable member of the team. Sorry Roserade. My next Pokemon is Shiinotic, who has a good matchup thanks to its fairy typing. Dragapult does decent damage with Flamethrower, but falls to a single Moonblast. Haxorus is next, but it outspeeds me and finishes Shiinotic with Poison Jab. I decide to go into Pharaoh and use Iron Defense to stall while toxic damage builds up, and I eventually overcome Haxorus with Body Press. Seismitoad is next, but it can't threaten Ferrothorn and falls to a single Body Press. This brings Leon's most deadly Pokemon to the forefront. Charizard's fire and flying typing makes it a pain for my team. Fortunately, the Stealth Rocks I set up earlier do a huge chunk of damage. Ferrothorn is an awful matchup though, and sadly falls in 1 turn. I then send in Ludicolo, who I'd been preserving for this very point in the battle. I Dynamax and tank a Max Airstream before finishing Charizard with a Max Gazer. With that, under the pouring rain, I was crowned the champion. I had overcome the Galar region under hardcore Nuzlocke rules using only Grass-type Pokemon. Thanks for watching. The Generation 8 games are much slower than some of the earlier generations, so this video took a while to put together, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, help me out by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and let me know what your favourite part was in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.